Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's an honour and a privilege to be here to speak with you about something which I'm very, very passionate and very excited about for the future, and that is the work that the Sikh Press Association is undertaking. And an example I'd like to bring you to first of all is the work that's been undertaken as regards amateur boxing. So most of you, like myself, will have grown up in an era where boxing for amateur boxers was not a path that Sikhs could consider. I remember going to my local boxing gym with friends of mine and being told by the boxing coach that you can come here and train, but there's not going to be much of a future here for you because you're going to grow beards. My best friend at the time was an Amandeep Singh. At that time I was a Monna, but he said, look, you're not going to be able to fight, so there's no point moving forward with this. In 2010, some political activists and, should we say, influential people in the community tried to challenge this. They tried to challenge it with the threat of legal proceedings and the threat of political repercussions if the ban was not lifted. But those efforts, though valiantly made, didn't achieve any results. Nothing was overcome. So the political and the legal means, if you like, they'd been exhausted. 4 years ago, the Sikh Press Association is inaugurated under the guidance of my older brother, Jagraj Singh. And Jazz phones me up in 2018. He goes, listen, we're going to have another crack at this. We're going to have another go at this. We're going to see what we can do. And dealing with it in the consummate professional way that they do, they put together a team of physios, a team of doctors, legal professionals, and they put together a package and they sent that to the All England, the Amateur Boxing Association of England, the ABAE, who had previously refused, who had previously sort of knocked back the suggestion that the ban should be lifted. I was very fortunate and very privileged to be part of that team when they were putting it together, so I first-hand witnessed the work that the Sikh Press Association did. And upon writing to them in such a professional way, with all of the backing of all of the medical professionals and the legal team that were there, they received a very prompt response that they were going to look at this and that the ban would be lifted. My friends, in 2019, in February, we celebrated the first amateur Sikh, Amritdhari Sikh fighting. And they fought because the ban had been lifted, because of the work that had been undertaken by the Sikh Press Association. He was able to fight, not for very long. It was a first round knockout for him. He did very, very well. First round, first minute, I might add. And you know, we're looking at roads into the Olympics for amateur boxers, for Sikhs on the world stage. And I think it's really, really important that we just look at this for a second. We can say that the Sikh Press Association overturned the ban of bearded Sikhs fighting in amateur boxing, or we can look at it going back 10 years earlier and say that they achieved previously that which had already been tried and failed. You see, we live in a changing world. We live in a world where the legal ramifications aren't so concerning or worrying as the media ramifications. We live in a world where people are more scared about what the media are going to do by way of response than political people. And so it's all, the point made by this is that the media were able to achieve a turnaround where legal and political activists had failed in the past. Not to say or to undermine the efforts that they did, but the truth of the matter is where the Sikh Press Association succeeded was where previously we'd failed. And so it becomes all the more illustrative of the need to back our press association. I think that when I've previously spoken to Pinda, the Jewish Press Association was formed, I think, about 40 years ago.
1947.
1947, for obvious reasons. And we're sort of just about getting together now, and we're seeing the massive, massive, massive effects that is happening. So one of the correspondences that was sent, it was something along the lines of, if you don't consider our requests reasonable and you're not going to lift this ban, then just let us know your press contacts details, because we're going to go to the press with this, and we just want a comment from you because we're going to go to the media. And that was one of the last paragraphs that was sent over, and immediately they came and said, no, Mr. Singh, Jazz, we'll have none of that. Please, let's have a little sit down, but we'll tell you right now we're going to try and lift this ban. And so we have amateur boxers that are coming through the ranks right now, and I'm really, as I said at the beginning, I'm really passionate and excited to see what further fruits are going to be born out of these seeds that have been planted from the hard work of the Sikh Press Association. So myself, I'm really passionate about Sikh education. Sikh education has changed my life, and it's something I'm really passionate about bringing to other people. And a lot of Sikh organisations are doing a cracking job about teaching Sikhs about Sikhi. But my brother Jagraj would always talk about how we're missing out on the 98%, how we are very good at talking to our children, maybe at the Gurdwara, at Punjabi school, how we're very good at speaking to our own at Ladivar Katha, our regular Katha programs and discourses across the country, but we're not very good at communicating who we are to other people. And as Shuranjit said, that if we don't take control of that narrative, then others are going to write it for us. And so what the Sikh Press Association are doing is something that I couldn't first get my head around. They are representing Sikhs to the entire world. And it's really, really important, because if we're going to grow as a Panth into that world and do what the mandate that has been given to us by Guru Gobind Singh Ji, which is to basically serve the entire world, to save the world in the Khalsa Panth, then the world needs to know who we are, that we're not strangers, that we're not here to do anything but to bring light forth in the way that Langar does, in the way that Shabil does, to the entire world. And insofar as the world doesn't understand who we are, they will continue to come up to us at Trafalgar Square as we serve Langar and say Salam Alaikum, because they don't know who we are. They think that we're Muslims. And it happens to us on a regular basis as we do Langar Seva on the streets of London town, week in, week out. And we have to just smile, grit our teeth and say, obviously this man means well. But I think that whilst organisations, which I'm very passionate about, like Basics of Sikhi, Sikh to Inspire, are doing a fantastic job educating Sikhs about Sikhi, we need to empower the Sikh Press Association to tell everybody else in the entire world, the other 98%, if you like, about who we really are. And this is something which has been undertaken not just in theory but in practice. So through the Sikh Press Association, I've been given many contacts, been introduced to many people, and I've been put forward to undertake many seva opportunities, many speaking opportunities for BBC across the country, Manchester, Leicester, Surrey, Shropshire, Derby, Nottingham, Northampton, to name a few. Perhaps most importantly to me, being a London boy, BBC London, where we had 500,000 listening to us as we talked to them about what the Sakhi is. And that to me is really, really important. People come up to me and they say, hey, we heard you speaking on the radio. And people at our workplace were talking about what you were saying. And that, for me, is going to be something which is very, very important. Because, as a friend of mine once put it, that if we don't educate people about who we are, when a Sikh turns up in the waiting room with a CV asking for a job, they're not going to be distinguished. If we don't start educating people about who we are through the proper medium, which is the media, as properly illustrated by the boxing analogy, if we don't start educating people about who we are, then we're not going to give the generation below, or even ourselves, a chance to flourish and move forward. Just to make the point really poignant, I met a counsellor at Goodmay's Gurdwara, which is my local Gurdwara in East London. And so I didn't meet them, I heard this story from a friend of mine. And he said, the counsellor came to the Gurdwara, he goes, I remember you guys. I came here 20 years ago, you gave me aloo gobi. You're good guys, you guys are good people. He was a counsellor. The point to be made was where he had been educated, where he had that chance opportunity to find out about who we were, he remembered it. People remember if we take the chance to go out and just give them, if we take the opportunity to educate them. And what we've got to do is see what people like Jagraj, Jazz, Sukh, Rapinder are doing and understand that it's really, really important that we back them. And if we are not backing the Sikh Press Association, if we're not appreciating the work that they're doing, then we can blame no one else but ourselves when someone else takes up the mantle and starts writing our history and our present for us. So I've spoken a bit about how the media, through the Sikh Press Association, has achieved where political and legal avenues had failed. I've given a couple of illustrations about how I've been given personally a platform to speak through the BBC, to the BBC. But on a personal note, I'd just like to say something. People think that all speakers, that when they go out, that they've come out of the room as speakers and they know everything that they've got to say. But it's not the case. Actually, I'm actually quite a young speaker in the terms of that I've only started doing Sikh education when I was really influenced by Jagraj a few years ago. And what's really interesting is for Jazz and Sukh, this is not a job for them. This is a passion, this is a lifestyle. And I remember getting one of our first speaking opportunities at BBC, and I was a little bit nervous. And Jazz phones me up because, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to have a three-way conference call. It was about 8 o'clock at night the day before, way after the office lights have been turned off and the shutters have been pulled down. And he said, listen, we're going to go through every opportunity. We're going to talk about the options that they're going to pose to you, the questions. And it really felt like I was being handled. It really felt like I was being nurtured as a team. And you can't buy that kind of love. You can't buy that kind of dedication and commitment. You can give someone a salary, but you can't give them heart. And I know these guys, and they're like brothers to me. And we're very, very fortunate to have people that care about the Banth, not just their job and their role. And I say it again, you can buy people. You can give them salaries. You can't buy heart. And if you phone these guys, as I've already illustrated, it's 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning, their phones are blowing up. It's not call me back later when my working shift contract kicks in. It's about what does the Banth need right now and how can I serve? And on that final point, oftentimes at work, I'll turn my nose up at tasks that I don't want to do. But you'll see Jazz and you'll see Suk. You'll see them deal with people perhaps that they don't want to deal with, that are not looking at Sikhi with a favourable eye. They've got to pick up the dirt sometimes so it doesn't get thrown in our face. And they do a fantastic job at doing that. And it's not so easy it's easy to say, but not so easy to do. To actually stand in the way and go, look, I don't want to do this, but for the better of the Banth, I'm going to do it. You know, it's an easy punchline to throw out there, but to live that life. And I phoned Jazz and he's like, yeah, I know, man, but what are you going to do? I know people are going to shower us for this, but it's got to be done. I know it's not going to be a pleasant situation, but I've got to stick through it because otherwise this will happen and so will have a conflict. And I regularly have these conversations, so genuinely from the bottom of my heart, genuinely, I'm very, very, very appreciative of the work that you've done for the Banth. I'm really excited to see the way that you're going to portray and put forward and tackle the issues that no doubt are going to be thrown at us. So genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you for the platform that you've given me and for the wonderful, wonderful, powerful, influential work that you do for the Banth. So, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.